Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
It was October when Caleb started to feel that something was off. 7 years of marriage with Ashley had built a relationship between them that, despite its ups and downs, was based on solid trust. Or so he thought. She had always been spontaneous, fun, full of energy. And he liked that. He found it charming when she came home from work talking non-stop, sharing stories from the office, her friends, conversations at the cafe. Sometimes he just smiled, listening more for her presence than the content. But that month, everything began to sound different. Ashley started going out more often. First, it was a Friday when she claimed to be exhausted and wanted to unwind with her friends. Caleb understood. She left around 7 in the evening, saying she would have dinner with Melissa and Kate. But she came back late. Much later than usual. It was already past 1 in the morning when he heard the door open. The soft laugh was the first sign. The way she whispered to herself, as if recalling a joke or trying to contain something. When she entered the bedroom, the smell came with her. A mix of mild alcohol and a perfume he had never worn. Strong, striking, with a woody touch. Ashley had always been faithful to her own perfume, a light floral scent. This was another world. She came in acting naturally. She quickly took off her shoes, went straight to the bathroom, brushed her teeth quickly, and lay down, as if not expecting questions. Caleb observed in silence, but inside him, something had ignited. It wasn't pure jealousy. It was intuition. That feeling that doesn't need evidence to manifest itself. Something there was wrong, even though she tried to appear the same. The next day, she made breakfast as usual. Served the toast, brought the orange juice, talked about city traffic as if it were just another Saturday. Caleb tried to hide his uneasiness. He wanted to observe a little more. To see if this had been an isolated situation or the beginning of a pattern. And that's exactly what it became. A pattern. The following week, another outing. This time, a birthday dinner for a colleague from work. She said it would be quick, that she'd be back by 10. It was past midnight, and still nothing. He called. It went to voicemail. He sent a text. It was read, but no reply. At 2 in the morning, she arrived. There were no more laughs, no strange perfume. But there was silence. The kind of silence that only happens when someone needs to think a lot before speaking. She said the dinner had taken longer, that they ended up going somewhere else afterward. He pretended to believe her. He stored that in his mind, like someone putting together a puzzle piece by piece. But it was on a regular Tuesday that the most important piece appeared. Justin, Caleb's friend since adolescence, called urgently. His voice carried an unusual hesitation. "Man, I need to tell you something, and maybe you'll think I'm exaggerating, but I saw Ashley at a bar last night. She was with a guy. They looked very close. Laughing together, glued to each other. I don't know if it was some coworker, but that didn't look like a normal friendship." The call left Caleb silent for a few seconds. His heart raced. His breathing became short. He tried to form a question, but couldn't. Justin continued. He gave the name of the bar, the time he saw them. Said he had considered taking a picture but thought it was invasive and preferred to talk first. Caleb thanked him for his honesty and hung up. He stayed motionless for a while, staring at his own reflection in the blank screen of his phone. That night, while Ashley was taking a shower, Caleb lay awake with his eyes open. Everything Justin had said spun through his mind, like a siren that wouldn't stop. The outings, the perfume, the bar, the ignored messages. None of it was coincidence. What if it was true? What if she really was having something on the side? What if he had been deceived all this time, like a background character in his own story? He turned his face and looked at the half-open bathroom door. The rhythmic, constant sound of water falling was indifferent to the chaos settling inside him. Right then, in that moment, Caleb made the decision that would change everything. He wouldn't sink into questions, nor wait for answers that might never come honestly. It was time to act. To look the truth in the eye, without filters, without assumptions. Even if it hurt, even if it tore him apart. Because there was something worse than being betrayed, it was continuing to live next to someone who was no longer who they claimed to be. The suspicion had stopped being a passing thought and become a daily presence in Caleb's mind. After Justin's call, he could no longer look at Ashley the same way. Conversations became shorter, glances more distant. Everything that used to be routine now seemed calculated, rehearsed. And even without physical proof in hand, something inside him already knew. Still, feeling wasn't enough. He needed to see, to confirm with his own eyes, no matter how much it tore him apart. When he decided to hire a private detective, it felt like signing a certificate of ending. But he was tired of living among hypotheses. The detective's name came recommended by a coworker. His name was Miles Whitaker. Experienced, direct, no beating around the bush. During their first conversation, Caleb explained the situation calmly, but Miles quickly understood what lay behind the measured words. He had seen it before. Husbands in doubt, wives in silence, and an avalanche ready to collapse. Caleb handed over the few details he had, the odd hours, the mentioned places, the names of the friends Ashley claimed to meet. Miles took quick notes, promised total discretion, and assured Caleb he'd have concrete results in a few days. They were the longest days of Caleb's life. Anxiety mixed with anguish. He woke up wondering if she was with someone at that moment, if she was exchanging messages under the table during dinner. The simple buzz of the phone already made his heart race. He tried to maintain an appearance of normalcy, but every time he saw Ashley smiling at her phone, he felt his stomach churn. One Friday night, while she was getting ready for another night with the girls, he went to bed early and stayed silent, watching her through the crack of the door. She looked beautiful, dressed with care he hadn't seen in months. She sprayed perfume, fixed her hair meticulously, and softly sang a song, as if in love with the night itself. The next morning, Miles called. His voice was dry, professional. He said he needed to deliver the material in person. They agreed to meet at a discreet cafe downtown. Caleb arrived early, watching the cars pass, people coming and going, as if the outside world moved at a different pace. When Miles arrived, he placed an envelope on the table and crossed his arms. He said he preferred to let the images speak for themselves. Caleb opened it slowly. Inside were a series of photos. Each one more painful than the last. Ashley appeared smiling. She was with a man Caleb had never seen before. Tall, dark-haired, well-groomed beard. The two were at a restaurant, sitting side by side, exchanging long looks, sharing dessert from the same plate. In another image, they walked hand in hand down the sidewalk, like an official couple. Next, they were entering a hotel together. Hours later, they exited with the same carefree air, as if nothing around them mattered. The last image hurt the most. Ashley rested her head on his shoulder inside the car while he caressed her hair with one hand. This wasn't a fleeting affair. It was affection. Miles explained that the man's name was Derek Mitchell. An entrepreneur in the event industry. He had a history of intense and short relationships. He had been mentioned in similar cases before. Miles said he could continue monitoring if Caleb wanted, but that this was already more than enough to prove involvement. Caleb thanked him faintly. Paid for the investigation and left with the envelope under his arm, like someone carrying a sentence. That night, he couldn't sleep. He spent hours staring at the photos spread out on the kitchen table. He relived each scene in his mind, as if trying to find an explanation that justified everything. But there wasn't one. What existed was raw reality. Ashley had been cheating on him for months. That changed everything. The plans, the dreams, the house, the future. He lay with his eyes open and his chest full of questions. When morning came, he picked up her phone. Ashley was still sleeping deeply. Her serene face contrasted with the weight of the lies she carried. Caleb typed the 4-digit code she had used forever. The portal to the truth opened. The messages with Derek were there. Many of them. Long conversations, intimate, full of complicity. She talked about her day, sent pictures of herself smiling, wrote that she missed his smell. He said he couldn't stand hiding anymore, that he wanted her all to himself. They talked about traveling, starting over, building something together. And worst of all, they mocked Caleb. They laughed at his naivety, his good-heartedness. They called him a safe backup, as if he were just a convenient backdrop for moments when they couldn't see each other. Caleb read it all without shedding a tear. But inside, each word was like a blade cutting slowly. He closed the phone and put it back in its place. He went into the bathroom, washed his face, and stared at the mirror. He saw a man who was still standing. Hurt, but whole. And right there, he made a promise to himself, he wouldn't let that betrayal define who he was. She had made her choices. Now it was his turn. From that moment on, everything would change. And the truth, as bitter as it was, would guide every step forward. Caleb didn't go to work that morning. He decided to wait. He watched the clock hit 7:20 when he heard the rustle of blankets and her light steps down the hallway. She entered the kitchen with her hair tied up messily, wearing the old sweatshirt she usually wore at home, holding her phone in her hand. Seeing him seated at the table, already with a coffee mug in front of him, she smiled, as if nothing had happened. She said, "Good morning," with a quick kiss on his forehead and started opening the fridge looking for something to prepare. Caleb remained silent. His eyes fixed on her. His fingers intertwined under the table. His heart, steady. Ashley turned and asked if he wanted scrambled eggs or just toast. He said he wasn't hungry. She found it strange. Caleb was a man of routine, and breakfast was sacred. She asked if he was okay. And that's when he stared at her. With a look that didn't shout, but cut. A look that carried the weight of everything discovered a few hours earlier. He asked, "Do you love him?" The question came without preamble, without context, without a raised voice. Ashley furrowed her brow, confused, trying to pretend she didn't understand. She let out a nervous, "What?" Caleb repeated. This time, with more firmness. "Do you love Derek?" She froze for a second. The name spoken aloud broke any chance of pretending. She looked around, as if hoping to find a physical escape, but there was only him and the truth between them. She tried to deny it, but Caleb interrupted. He said he had photos. Said he had read all the messages. That he knew about the hotels, the meetings in the car, the coffees, and the promises exchanged over the phone. He told her he knew about the disdain between the lines, the jokes made at his expense, the plans she made without including her husband. Then he fell silent. Ashley approached, trying to keep control. Her voice started to falter. She said things had changed between them, that she felt lonely, that Derek appeared during a confusing time. She tried to justify the unjustifiable. Caleb listened without responding. Every sentence she spoke seemed emptier than the last. When she said she still loved him, he laughed. A short, cold laugh with no humor. He asked how someone who loves does what she did. How someone who loves nurtures another relationship for months, writes vows to another man while sharing a bed with the one they swore fidelity to. Ashley tried to touch his hand. Caleb pulled away. He stood up, went to the cabinet, and took out a thick envelope. He handed it to her silently. Inside were all the proofs Miles had gathered. The photos, the reports, copies of the most incriminating messages. Ashley began flipping through the material with trembling hands. And for the first time, tears came. Tears that mixed shame, despair, and guilt. She begged for a chance. Said she could fix everything. That there was still time, that she was willing to leave Derek, to erase everything, to start over. Caleb responded calmly, like someone who had nothing left to lose, "You destroyed everything yourself." She begged. Said she loved him. That she was weak. That she regretted it. She tried to recall trips, good moments, the history they had built together. Caleb listened to everything with a serene expression. Not because he was at peace, but because he had reached the point where there was no more doubt or dilemma. The decision had been made the moment he saw her words on the phone saying, "You're everything I've ever wanted. I can't wait to be yours completely." He went to the door and opened it. Said she could pack her things that same day. That from then on, they would no longer share a roof or plans. Ashley hesitated. She sat on the kitchen floor, her face hidden between her knees. Caleb didn't console her. He simply walked to the bedroom, grabbed her phone from the dresser, and placed it on the table. He said it was good for her to respond to Derek. That she was now free to live everything she had so desired. Before leaving, Caleb stopped and looked her in the eyes. "You didn't betray me just with another man. You betrayed everything I was for you." He closed the door firmly. Walked to the car and sat there for a few minutes, just breathing. For the first time in months, he felt like he was reclaiming ownership of his own story. He no longer needed answers. Because now, the only thing that mattered was the freedom that came after the truth. The days that followed the separation felt like stretched-out emptiness. Caleb spent weeks in silence, even surrounded by the city's noise, work, and messages from friends asking how he was doing. He replied sparingly. He preferred the noise of his own thoughts, which felt more real than any external voice. He sold the house. Every corner, every wall, every drawer held a memory. Ashley's scent still lingered in the bedroom. The coffee stain on the edge of the kitchen counter was still hers. And it suffocated him. It was like trying to live in a story already written by someone else. Selling the house wasn't just practical. It was like pulling the root of everything. Tearing out the last page of a book whose ending he already knew. He moved to a small town where no one knew his name, his past, or what he had gone through. He rented a simple place and started working from home, without rushing to fit in, without needing to smile out of obligation. He learned to do things his own way. Cooked slowly. Walked while listening to music. Read entire books without distraction. He began noticing the small things. The sound of a dog passing on the sidewalk. The "good morning" from the lady at the corner fruit shop. The freedom of living without walking on eggshells, without calculating every word out of fear of causing discomfort. As Caleb slowly rebuilt himself, Ashley unraveled quickly. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, she moved in with Derek. The same man with whom she claimed to live a real romance, an overwhelming connection, a promise of the future. But the shine she swore she had found began to fade with routine. Derek, once intense and charming, revealed himself to be impatient. Anything became a reason to argue. He didn't want commitment, just the good parts, the pleasure without responsibility. Ashley, who had traded a stable life for a tale of passion, found herself treated as temporary. She was betrayed, just as she had betrayed. And, ironically, by the same hand she had held with such certainty. When Derek disappeared, without warning, without a note, without even a goodbye message, Ashley was left alone in an apartment that wasn't hers, surrounded by decisions she couldn't undo. She tried calling Caleb. Once, twice, dozens of times. She sent long messages, confessing her mistakes, saying she now understood what he felt, that she truly loved him, that she just wanted one chance to apologize while looking into his eyes. Caleb read it once. Deleted it. And never replied. Because some wounds don't heal with words. They heal with distance. Months passed. Ashley tried, somehow, to move on with her life, even with the bitter taste of what she had lost. She lived in a small apartment, with little contact with friends, avoiding looking at old photos on social media. She felt ashamed of how everything had fallen apart. Derek had disappeared for a while but reappeared weeks later, bolder, more confident. This time, with someone new by his side. And that was what tore Ashley apart the most. He had started dating Marissa, her younger sister. At first, she thought it was provocation. Thought he was doing it to hurt her. But soon she realized it wasn't a game. Marissa posted pictures of the two of them. Derek was at the family home. Sitting on the couch from Ashley's childhood. Laughing with the uncles. Smiling next to their mom. The scene was too cruel. Ashley tried talking to her sister. Warned her. Told her outright that the man was only capable of pretending. That he was manipulative, promising worlds only to disappear as if nothing had happened. Marissa rolled her eyes. Said Ashley was jealous. Said Derek was different with her, that they got along wonderfully, that they were in love. Ashley lost control and confronted Derek. She said everything she had held back for months. Called him a jerk. A parasite. Said he had destroyed everything she had, and now he was infiltrating her family like some kind of trophy. Derek, with the smug smile she knew all too well, responded coldly, "You knew who I was. You just didn't want to see it." The words echoed inside her. She returned home trembling, her mind racing. Deep down, he was right. She knew. She just didn't want to admit it while caught up in that disguised charm. She tried warning her sister one more time. Practically begged. Said Marissa was still in time to get out, that the ending was already written, that it was only a matter of time. But, like her in the past, Marissa believed she had everything under control. That it would be different. That with her, it would be real. And that's when Ashley realized the hardest truth of all. She realized how easy it is to point fingers when you're on the outside, when the pain hasn't yet hit your chest. But when she was in her sister's place, she hadn't noticed the warnings Caleb had silently tried to give. The absences, the distances, the lost looks, it was all there, but she chose to ignore it. She chose to follow immediate pleasure while destroying the only person who truly loved her in a genuine way. Ashley tasted powerlessness. She lost her sister's respect. She lost her family's respect. And finally, she lost respect for herself. She wanted to find Caleb. She went to the old house, visited their home, but another family lived there now. A child played in the backyard. Another woman watered plants in the garden. Everything had been erased. She picked up an old phone, dialed from a new number, and left a message. Said she wanted to tell him everything. Said she understood now. That she didn't expect forgiveness, but she just wanted to be heard, even if it was for the last time. Caleb listened to the message until the end. He was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking his coffee. Her voice sounded different. Tired. Broken. But he no longer felt pain. Only distance. Only a "once upon a time." He finished the audio, pressed the button, and deleted it. And continued with his coffee. Because he understood that some stories need to end without answers. Without going back. Without reunions. And that, sometimes, the greatest strength isn't in winning someone back. It's in letting go. Without making noise. Without giving explanations. Just letting go. Caleb didn't become extraordinary. He didn't write a book or become a speaker. He simply became someone who understood, in the hardest way possible, that no one destroys a home without first stepping out of it. And that forgiveness isn't about taking someone back. It's about letting go firmly and moving forward lightly. In the end, he won by living. Without needing to prove anything. And perhaps that's the greatest victory of all. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.